In today's video, we're analyzing one key question. As silver prices rise, does demand actually fall, or do certain industries keep buying anyway? Let's start with the most important point. The biggest impact of rising silver prices is being felt in the PV solar industry. In many industries, silver is only a small cost item. But in solar panels, thanks to the silver paste used in cell production, silver makes up a much larger share of the total cost. So when silver prices go up, the cost structure of panel manufacturers gets hit directly. The PV panel industry already operates on thin margins, around 10% on average. If silver prices rise and companies can't fully pass those costs on to customers, profitability starts to shrink. What happens next? Some companies shut down, capacity drops, production slows, and that could eventually reduce PV-driven silver demand. This is exactly the critical threshold where silver's rally could start to slow itself down. So, have we reached that threshold yet? The data suggests we haven't. We have a 2024, 2025, 2026 table based on PV module shipments. The top 10 manufacturers shipped about 502 GWh in total in 2024, and that number rises to 514 GWh in 2025. That's plus 12 GW, or roughly 2.4% growth. In our 2026 estimate, the total moves up to 526.5 GW, which shows that growth is expected to continue in 2026 as well. In other words, silver prices increased in 2025, but the PV industry didn't shrink. On the contrary, it kept growing and continued to generate silver demand. When we look at the top 10 panel manufacturers, 9 out of 10 are Chinese. So the center of PV growth is clearly China. China accounts for roughly 12–14% of global silver mine production. Around 60–70% of the world's refined silver supply flows through China's processing capacity. Even if silver prices rise further in 2026, the Chinese government may have the ability to subsidize part of that cost pressure. So, the idea that PV demand will collapse overnight could be much less likely than many people expect. Here's the bottom line. Silver demand is higher than supply, and prices are rising. The PV sector is the most sensitive industry to silver prices because silver's cost share is high and profit margins are thin. But the 2025 data shows the sector is still growing and still creating silver demand. And we expect that growth to continue into 2026. That's why the most important thing to watch in silver isn't just the price itself, but the profitability resilience of PV manufacturers.